yeah. Oh yeah. Who's fired up? All right. Good evening, everybody. Oh, come on. Good evening, everybody. So if I spit on you, I'm sorry, but I don't care because I got to tell you. We're going to go through what happened here. Front row, that's right. You notice it's always empty. What's going on here? You know what? Can I get the little clicker that goes? Oh, it's not me. There we go.
I want my money back.
Yeah. Good evening, I'm Dr. Osborne. I'm really glad you guys are here. We're going to go over some life-changing information. So you guys got to remember, see, like, can you imagine if I spent the next hour talking to you like that, right? Like, would you want to, like, just cut your wrist? Hopefully. Like, I know people will be walking out of here, and that's how we live our lives, right? We're like, hi, it's morning. Oh, I'm going to walk to the coffee maker. Like, the thing is that our life is based on our state. The state that we live in our life, the way that we think, the way that we move, and our state is determined by two things. It's determined by our physiology, like how we sit, how we stand, how we move, the voices that we use, the inflections that we have, when we move fast and when we talk and we think about important things. That's how we change our state. That's how we change our physiology. If you remember a couple of classes ago, we talked about power posture. When people stand like this in a position of praise, what happens is it lowers their stress hormones by 40% within 2 minutes, right? Check that out. How about if they stand like this? It increases their stress hormones. It decreases their testosterone, which is your power hormone, all right? So power comes from our physiology, and it's what we focus on. So tonight, my whole goal is this is what I focused on. New Year's Eve, I was in Times Square. New Year's Eve, I was in Times Square, and there's 1 million people there. And all these people they're in so much joy, and they're celebrating, they're having this great time. And the only thing that I could get out of that I could not get out of my head, I was standing there looking at them, and I knew in my head, 800,000 people a year die of cancer. Imagine 8 out of 10 people just dropping dead immediately. I know that 7 out of 10 people are going to die of heart disease. Imagine 7 out of 10 people dropping right then and there. See, I'd never seen it. I'd never had that focus to be able to see what 1 million people looks like and look what the power of 1 million people look like just to drop down. And that's why I came back. I had a whole other class planned, and I totally wiped the slate clean because tonight I am so committed to having change in this office so that next time I know that I go back there, I know that I walk up to somebody on the street, I'm like, hey, do you know what the 5 essentials are? And they're like, yeah, of course I do. It's like Max Mind, Max Nerve Supply, Max Nutrition. Like, at least that way I know that I'm making an impact because I'm scared when I look at that. And that's what tonight's about. It's about change. So, January 15th. Does anybody know what happens on January 15th?
My son has a birthday.
Okay, there you go. It's a magic date. What's on January 15th?
National Quit New Year's resolution.
Yes, it is. 95% of people on January 15th, by the January 15th, 95% of people have already quit their resolution, right? Like, and if that's not you, I congratulate you, right? I mean, like, because you guys are here, that's not you because you're committed to change there. But a lot of times, people don't even make resolutions anymore. Like, I talk to people like, oh no, I don't make resolutions. And the reason being is that they've tried so many times and they failed so many times that they just don't want to get hurt, right? They just don't want to like feel like failures. Life's hard enough, and it's so easy to just not do anything to try and actually fail, to actually try and fail there. So here's the thing: why do we have New Year's resolutions, right? Like, what is it about New Year's resolution? What is it about this thing that happens magically at the beginning of the year? Why do people get so excited? And I think it's something that's just innate to our soul. Like, it's so deep inside of us to want to progress, right? Like, it's about progress. Like, our whole lives are about progress. What we find is that, like, imagine if you have a relationship and it doesn't progress. It doesn't grow. All of a sudden, it slowly starts to die. Like, think about your health. If you don't progress in your health, it goes back. Like, it's so deep inside of us that we're innately designed to want to progress and to move forward. And that's what this whole thing about resolutions is about, because we know that we need to change. We know that that we're not going to be satisfied with where we are. We're going to be satisfied that we know that there's so much more inside of us. And that's why we have this drive to constantly be progressing forward there. Most of the problem is that most of the times we just don't know how to progress, right? Like, we know what we want, kind of, but we kind of hold ourselves back a little bit because we forget about that who we were created to be. And so this is why tonight's about a time for change, right? And a lot of times the New Year's is all about change. We want to change this and we want to change that. And the thing about life is that life, well, change happens automatically, right? Look at our physical body. Like, you don't have to do anything and your physical body changes, doesn't it? Like this gray hair, I didn't have to think about it. I didn't have to concept it. I didn't have to make a resolution that I was going to get gray hair. It just happened. Like, the economy, like, it's going to change. I guarantee you. Your jobs are going to change. Like, your relationships are going to change. Like, all life is change. And the problem is that most people, they want to have change, but they don't do what it takes to control that change. Like, change is going to happen no matter what you do, but you have a choice of if you're going to control it or not. And that's what tonight's about. Tonight's about controlling the change, directing the change in the direction that we want, that supports us to be able to fulfill our vision there. So the first step, and I actually put a cheat sheet out there for all of you guys tonight because it's so important. I want to make sure that, and I actually even filled it out myself, so I have the crib notes right here. The first step that it takes to make change is we got to have a compelling vision, right? Like, we got to have like a vision for our lives. We got to have a vision for what we want our lives to look like. So much of the time, like, people have their resolutions look like, I want to lose weight. Well, that's not a vision. That's like something that you have to do, right? That's like losing weight sometimes is something that you don't get to, right? It's not about something that you get to create. It's all about denial there. And so when we talk about our compelling vision, it's our big why. It's our reason for doing things, right? That's the compelling vision is what moves us forward, and it's something that excites us. It's that thing that fires us up. Like, has anybody ever gotten excited about, like, losing 5 pounds?
Yeah.
I mean, well, after you did it, right? But, like, when you woke up in the morning, you're like, okay, I'm going to be losing 5 pounds. Okay, that means I got to go to the gym, and that means I got to go and I got to, like, not eat this, and this means that I got to get in those same old, right? Like, losing 5 pounds is not necessarily an exciting goal. It's just something that we do there to hopefully progress in a direction there. What we need to do is we need to have that compelling vision. That's that thing that we can't sleep at night, right? That thing that gets us excited, that wants us to be able to move in a particular direction. And that's what the resolve is about, because that compelling vision only happens when we make a decision, when we resolve to do something. And if you think about what resolve means, right? It means that we've made a decision. And a lot of times what decide means, if you break it down into its root words, it means to separate and kill. To die, which is separate, side, which means kill. So it means to kill one of the options there. And that's like, you think of like the old Vikings, right? They used to, take their boats on shore, and they wanted to go conquer something. And what they would do is they'd actually go out there and burn the boats so there was no turning back. Like, when you burn the boats and you're attacking a foreign land, you're pretty much committed, right? Like, that's how it works. And so this whole night tonight is all about resolve. It's about deciding to make that change, deciding to have that compelling vision, deciding to make changes in our life to be able to move forward there. So that compelling vision, what I want you to think about, all right? And these are some things that are really important for you to think about. Is like, what is my vision for my life, right? What are the things that are important to me? Like, where am I right now? Where do I want to be? Like, that compelling vision is the foundation when we're trying to make our resolutions for this new year. It's once we resolve something, it turns from a should to a must, right? Like, when we say, like, I am no longer going to smoke, well, if we were like, well, except when I'm with friends, and if I go out drinking, well, sometimes I'm going to do that, right? And then, that's not a decision, like, and that's not a compelling vision. Like, a compelling vision would be like, look, I want to be able to exercise, breathe, and be able to play with my grandchildren and have the life that I was created to live. That's a compelling vision. And that's my compelling vision, right? So, like, it's not about smoking, but like trying to have that compelling vision for me is so that I can play with not only my grandchildren, but I can play with my great-great-grandchildren. Like, why shouldn't I? And so, the first thing that we want to do is to be able to take this step But before we are able to fulfill that compelling vision, like have you ever had an idea like of something that you want, but we got to come up with reasons, right? Like the reasons are our why. The reasons are the why we do things. The reasons are what allows us to push through when we're on a diet and we walk into somebody's house and they have a full buffet spread out there, and it's the thing that allows us to push through and say, you know what, I don't need to try every single piece of cheesecake tonight and like have like 4 vacation meals in a row. So like the reason are the things that like when we're trying to quit smoking is to be able to actually say, you know what, I'm not going to smoke because of this. This is the reason why I'm not going to do this, or the reason why I'm going to do things. Our reasons are the things that give us power in our lives. Does that make sense? Like they give us the power to be able to make that change. And so when you have big reasons, you have big strength to be able to make those changes there. The second thing is the third thing is we need to have a compelling vision. We need to have those reasons to make those changes, right? But we also, what's the biggest thing that most people do? So like January 1st comes, right? Think of the state most people are in January 1st. They've been out all night. They're suffering from a mean hangover, and they're sitting down there watching football, and they're like, I really should do this. I'm going to take a nap first, right? The big thing is, the problem is that when we make our compelling vision, when we make a decision in a peak state, well, what it does is it anchors us to that state. It gives us power. Well, we also have to realize is that compelling vision, it's going to do one of two things for us. It's going to push us, right? Or it's going to pull us. So, like, if we know that vision isn't big enough, when we're having to push it. Have you ever like had a goal that you set and you're just like, oh, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. It's like getting a beat through a wall, right? So, as opposed to having something that you are so excited about that it pulls you in that direction. And that's what we want. So we have these reasons, we have our compelling vision, but the biggest thing most people don't do is they don't actually take time to review it, right? Like they don't write it down, they don't think about it. It's something out in the ether that they don't think about, and it just kind of happens. And then one day they wake up and they're like, January 15th, you know what, didn't I make some resolutions? I think I did. I don't remember what they were. Maybe I'll just do them next year. So the big thing about the time to review is what we have to realize is that time to review is something that we have to do on a daily basis, because if we review things in one day, what happens is we change our lives for one day. But if we review what our goals and our visions and our reasons are every single day, well, then we change our whole entire life, right? And so what I want you to really focus on is your reasons, or the time that you're going to review those reasons, those times that you sit down there. Because what happens is that if you don't make those changes, well, we only do things to actually meet our standards, right? Like if you were to look at somebody, like who goes to Surge on Saturday? Right. So like and think about like just stand up for a second if you go to Surge on Saturday. All right? Yeah. So I want you to look at the people that go to Surge on Saturday. Look at the shape that they're in, right? Okay, you can sit down. But so think about the standard that they set for themselves. Like if you ask somebody like what their standard is, like if they wanted to be healthy, right? Their standard is that I go to Surge because this is what I expect from myself. Our standards are our identity. Like we will never do anything that compromises our identity. Like if we see ourselves as a healthy person, if we see ourselves as a strong person, we will never compromise that identity. If we see ourselves if you ask the identity of somebody that exercises, that is in great shape, you're going to see their identity is their standards, the things that they do, is they're going to be exercising every single day, 5 days a week, right? And so what happens is our standards, the standards that we set for ourselves, is we're never going to fall, we never fall below that. The problem is that most people suffer from terminally low standards, right? Like every time we start something and we try it, what ends up happening is we kind of fail a little bit, and so we're like, I'm just going to lower my standards. But the only reason why you failed is because your standards weren't high enough in the first place. And so what I'm going to ask you to do is to raise your standards at this particular time. Raise your standards for yourself. Raise your standards for your health. Raise your standards for your finances. Raise your standards for your relationships. Raise your standards for everything that you do, because when we raise our standards, what happens is that's when our life starts to transform there. There was one thing I was going to show you. And that's really what it comes down to. Is like, you are the man in the mirror, right? Like what you see is what your identity is. You look in the mirror and you see somebody like that you don't want to even look at, like as far as like weight, right? If you look in the mirror and you see somebody in a relationship that you wouldn't want to be in a relationship with, that's your standard for your life. And that's really what I want you to encourage you to do, is to be able to look in the mirror. The problem is our identity. Most of our identity, how we see ourselves, started 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years ago. It started in childhood. So like the identity that we have, that we identify with our standards, it's been there many times since childhood. And we didn't even like consciously actually create that identity. We let other people create that identity for us. We let them tell us who we were, what we could do, and what we couldn't do. If you guys ever heard the story about the elephant with the steak, right? So you go to a circus, and like they have the elephant, the baby elephants. What they do is they'll put a stake in the ground, put a noose around their back leg, put it in the ground, and that baby elephant's going to struggle, and they're going to fight, and they're going to do everything that they possibly can to get rid of that stake, to get away from it. But eventually, what do? They quit, right? They just say, I can't do it. They change their identity, and that same stake is used when they try to use it like a big elephant. They'll stake that same big elephant into the ground with that same small stake. And most of us are stuck in the ground with these small stakes that were stuck in the ground when we were a kid, that allowed us to, and we let somebody else create our identity. And so what I want you to remind you of is who you are. I want to remind you of who you are and what you were created to be. That same power that created the cosmos, that created something called light years. Can you imagine something called light years? To go thousands of miles across the galaxy for thousands of years and not even be able to get to the end of the galaxy, and it's constantly expanding. That same power that created that galaxy, that is keeping everything in place there, is that same power that's inside of you. And we forget who we are. But we are fearfully and wonderfully made. There's a power inside of each and every one of us. It's the power to love, the power to heal, the power to be able to create change, the power to be able to transform not only our lives, but the lives of around us. I mean, think about, do you think that Gandhi, what his identity was, right? He didn't see himself as a really small, like, Indian man that can't do anything, right? He was sick all the time. Like, he wasn't like this powerful guy. You look at Martin Luther King. What do you think his identity was growing up? What did people tell him that he was? And did he have to transform his identity so he could raise his standards? And then once he raised his standards, all of a sudden he got a compelling enough vision. He got big enough reasons to be able to make those changes. And once he got those big enough reasons, there was no stopping him. It wasn't that somebody threatened his life. It wasn't that somebody wouldn't let him on people on a bus. Nothing would stop him because he understood who he was, what he stood for, and where he was going. And that's what I want for you guys tonight. And that's why we got like the makeover coming up, right? So the reason why we do this makeover is we want to A, get you into a peak state. B, we want to be able to give you the tools and help you transform your identity of who we know that you can be. That's why we do this. That's why we have these classes, so that we can give you those tools to be able to transform your life, so that you're not one of those people out in Times Square laying on the ground there. I mean, you look at Elisa. So here's her thing. So if you look at where she was, right? That's a hard place to come from, right? That's a hard place to come from. I mean, we're talking hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pounds. And she thought she was big boned, right? She thought that because like it was just the way that she was born. Her other sisters are skinny, but she was just born that way. She'd always been heavy, and that was her identity. And one day, she was at a makeover, and she all of a sudden realized that she did not have to be like that, right? She saw people up talking about how they can transform their lives. So all of a sudden, she got in a moment, and that's when it happens, right? It's those things that all of a sudden in a moment, you're like, oh my gosh, I can be different. It can be different. I can make progress. And so she got this vision. She sat down with me, and she's like, hey, look, I want to do this 100%. So here she is. She had major food issues, and boom, 90 days later, she loses 80 pounds. 90 days, right? She'd never been able to lose more than 30 pounds. Like how transformative. Now, think of what her identity is, right? Think of what her identity is, of who she is. All she had to do was take action, right? She actually had to do something there. So really the thing that she transformed and the thing that she changed, and this is a really big key, is she transformed and changed the things that she did on a daily basis. We call them rituals, right? And they're really, that's really what it is, right? Judith, do you mind to come up here for a second? So I want to introduce you guys to Judith. Like, you've probably heard her laugh. She's probably one of the happiest people I've ever met. She's one of the biggest loves I've ever met. And she believes in this mission more than many people I've ever met. But one of the things that I remember when we first met, we had some big challenges with sugar, right?
Yep.
Like, we'd be like, oh my gosh, and you'd be like, I'm going to do everything
it's
that
too
you...
good. I can't give it up.
Yeah, you can be like, I can do everything that you tell me to do except sugar, right?
That was one of them, yeah.
Yeah, and bread,
And bread.
because it was part of your identity growing up.
Exactly.
So what changed?
Bread and pasta. Because I was diagnosed with cancer stage 4 in August, but my cancer marker is dropping. Actually, is in the normal range now. I was told that I can be operated on because it's too late, because it already spread, and my tumor is shrinking. It shrunk after the first 3 treatments, actually, 25%. So, and all I'm doing is I'm living a healthy life, really. And I'm getting chemo, but you know, most people don't even respond to this type of chemo. So I was told, be prepared, maybe nothing gonna happen, and I'm gonna die in 11 months.
Yeah.
So I'm dying.
Yeah, she's out there. Yeah, she died to be reborn, right? Like, just so you guys know, we were out there surging, and she's like, yeah, I'm having a hard time of keeping up with people. And she's like, I'm like, yeah, but they just didn't do chemo yesterday, right? But so let me ask you a question. So you had this identity and like these beliefs that, you know, like you need to, like you like sugar, you couldn't give it up.
And pasta and bread.
Pasta and bread. Like, so if I was to like give you a big like cheesecake right now.
I would say no, thank you.
Exactly. Would it be even a conflict there? Like,
but I would eat a piece of fruit, so
Yeah,
I have to admit that. So
Yeah.
that much sugar I do, but
So-
it's really minimal.
yeah. And so one of the things that
Natural one, not the bad ones.
the good ones. So the other thing, the reason why I brought Judith up there is she's also a counselor there too, and so you know sometimes like she's volunteered to be able to help anybody out that has some challenges, maybe even that do us a group setting to be able to get through things. She's and so when you see her around, just talk to her.
Yeah.
She's here just like you guys are here. So I appreciate you and I love you for everything that you do.
I love you.
So what did she do, right? She got this new vision for her life. She like had this old vision, but then she got this new vision for what she wanted her life to be like. Then she went in there and she got reasons, right? Your reasons were your grandkids, right?
That too,
Yeah.
and helping other people
Right, so
to do my job, and I thought it wasn't my time. I mean, I enjoyed it.
right, so those are her reasons. She got like some bigger reasons, and then all of a sudden she got bigger reasons, and then she changed her identity, right? It wasn't like a person that was struggling with these things. It was like a boom. It turned into a must rather than a should, right? And so it became a must. And I think that's if you saw one of our makeovers, we had Bob, and he was he had stage 4 cancer also. And what his statement was is he said, don't wait until you lose weight from cancer to actually lose weight now, right? He goes like, when you lose weight from cancer, now I'm spending all my time trying to gain weight as opposed to making the changes now so that you don't have to worry about it in the future there. So really what she did and what Lisa did is they just changed the rituals of their life. They just changed the things that we do. And most of the time our rituals they're subconscious, right? They're like most of us are walking around in this post-hypnotic trance that was induced in childhood. We're just putting the same things in our mouth without thinking about it. We're doing the same things. We're talking the same words. We're speaking the same things. We're doing the same actions. And so if you look at the rituals of somebody that's in great shape, like they get up in the morning, they go to the gym, like they actually have their shoes by the side of their bed. And when the alarm clock goes off, what is their ritual? They get out of bed, right? What is a person that's struggling with their weights ritual? snooze, right? What is the ritual of somebody that's like tired and like doesn't have joy and is depressed? Like their ritual is they hit the snooze button first thing in the morning there. The person that what's the ritual of the person that that when they're eating? Well, they're like, well, I'm just hungry. So the ritual is I just eat when I'm hungry and I eat it until I'm full, as opposed to the ritual of the person that's healthy and thin. And by the way, I'm not using thin and losing weight as like the be all or end all. It's just a metaphor for what we're trying to achieve here. So what we want to do is be able to look at our rituals, and because our rituals are one of the most powerful things. And our rituals are based on our identity. So like we have these, who we think we are, we do these things on a regular basis to support ourselves. If our identity is as a musician, like you practice more music than most people do anything, right? Like you live it, breathe it, think it, and do it all day long there. But really the thing that I want you to remember is who we are. The sum total of all the things that we are is not one big thing. So like a lot of times people, and this is a quote I put in here for you guys. I'll give you that. It says, people are rewarded in public for what they practice for years in private, right? So what that means is this, is that a lot of times people they'll be like, oh, it's just so easy for you, Dr. Osborne, because you don't eat this stuff and you don't do this stuff. No, do you know how much practice it takes, right? How much I have to think about it. I actually have to go shopping. I actually have to prepare my food. I actually have to make conscious decisions. I actually have to create rituals on a daily basis. It just doesn't come naturally. Oh, you're disciplined and I'm not. Of course, no, I just have different rituals than you. I plan my day, and that's really what we're going to teach you how to do, is to be able to plan your day on this one. So really, whether somebody, nobody ever became rich overnight, right? Like it was the sum total of all the small things and all the small decisions. Nobody ever became healthy overnight. Like it just doesn't happen like that. Just as nobody ever became sick overnight, right? Like it just doesn't happen. Like, all of a sudden somebody gets sick one day and you're like, oh, what happened to him? He was just healthy yesterday. There's no way he was healthy. It's impossible to all of a sudden go from 100% health to laying on your deathbed in some hospital wondering what the heck happened. So, Dr. Jones made me promise I was going to use 4-letter and friendlies, especially because you're sitting right there. So the one thing that I want you to remember is that success is the small things that we do on a daily basis. And look at the small things that we're doing on a daily basis. Look at your rituals there. And in fact, here's your first action plan, okay? And this is huge. What I want you to do is, we never want to get it together. We never want to do something unless we take a small action, right? If this could be great information, but unless you do something with it, we've just listened to I've had 3 laughs, so you laughed 3 times tonight, great? You got great information and you did nothing with it. But what I want you to look at and to be able to take from this tonight is this. What I want you to do is look at an area of your life that you'd like to change. Okay, and it doesn't have to be weight. It doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be that. It's some area that bugs you, that just deep down in your soul that that's an area that you need to change, right? And what I want you to think about it's something that it sucks your energy, right? It just takes away from who you are as a human being, and you think about it all the time, but you need to change it, and it's most probably. It's not something you've told anybody before. It's that one that it's in that deep part of your heart that nobody knows about. And so this is a private thing. This is not something, we're not going to have a share all on this one. But what I want you to look at is, I want you to think about it, about the rituals that you do on a daily basis that support this, right? Think of the things that you do on a daily basis that support this. What happens? How do you wake up in the morning? What do you think about when it happens? We all have our rituals. We all have our habits and our patterns there, okay? And I encourage you to do this, because this is going to be one thing. If you can change this one thing, what's going to happen is that when you write your new vision for it, what happens is then you get to write the playbook, right? Remember, we talked about change is going to happen no matter what. But if we can control the change, well, that's where all the power comes from. So when we write down our new vision, and then we just write down what's going to get us there. What are the rituals that are going to get us there? And then guess what? We do this on 2 or 3 things, right? And if we don't have to like all of a sudden like go change every single thing in our life. If we just do 2 or 3 things, what's going to happen is we're going to create this pattern of discipline in our lives. We're going to create this pattern of change in our lives. But most importantly, we're going to create this pattern of progress in our lives. And that's where true happiness is found, is when we're progressing forward in a particular direction. And then guess what? You do 2 or 3 things today, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, here's another thing. And then here's another thing. And then all of a sudden, this progress becomes a habit. And all of a sudden, people are going to be looking at you like you're disciplined. And you're like, well, it's really not that I'm disciplined. I just do these things on a consistent basis, and I'm aware of the things that are pulling me off there. So discipline is the sum total of the focus of our ability to focus on these small things on a daily basis. That's all it is. So I gave you a copy. This is my sheet. Okay, this is my habit sheet. This is my ritual sheet when I wake up in the morning. And of course, I sort it by the 5 essentials, just because it makes it easier for me. Because and the very first thing you'll notice is Max Mind. Like think about what my day looks like, right? Like I get to have so many conversations with so many people. Some people are having amazing testimonials, huge transformations, and some people are at the bottom of the bottom of the bottom of where they are in their life, right? And so I need to be the very best that I can be, but also I need to be able to have a plan. I need to be focused. And so my biggest section, as you can see, is I actually have what I did is I wrote down all the things that I do. Like I used to read the newspaper in the morning, okay? It's a simple thing, but guess what? You get up in the morning, you sit down, you read the newspaper. Next thing you know, it's 45 minutes later. 45 minutes later, you're like, oh my gosh, I got to get in the shower. So I go get in the shower, run in there, run into the office, and I'd be crazy. So something that I started years ago was I just don't even read the newspaper till lunchtime. I like the newspaper. There's nothing good in it, but I like it, right? I mean, so it doesn't mean I have to deny myself, but I put it into a place that supported me. I'm not going to go down this whole list there. I read the Bible every morning. That's just my thing. You know what I mean? That's my thing. That's where I get my power, my focus. It gives me something to meditate on every single day. And then also, one of the things that I look at is, for me, is I have daily objectives. I don't have a to-do list, right? I don't have a to-do list. Ask anybody here, but I have 3 objectives that I know that I'm going to accomplish, like personal, professional, and relationship there, and clinical there. So I have 3 specific things, and then if I do more than those, great. Then I can just add 3 more when I'm done with that. So that's how I start my morning. But then guess what? Then I do my wobble traction, right? Then I'm done with my wobble traction. I get adjusted there. Then I have my nutrients there, my nutrition. So these are the things that I thought were important rituals for me. And even with my exercise schedule, I have a planned exercise schedule. It's not like I know I should surge 4 times a week, right? So I actually put my exercise schedule in my calendar, because if not, guess what's going to happen? There's going to be a really good TV show on, right? There's going to be I'm going to start wasting my time. Have you ever had something to do? And you're at another place and you got to be there, right? So that's an appointment with myself as exercise. Because if I don't exercise, all of a sudden I can't be physically fit enough to take care of you all day long. And then I have my essential number 5 with my detox. I even have in there planned at what time I take my daily detox. I mean that's how it works for me. And then guess what I do? I give myself a score. I just at the end of the night. I mean, it's kind of a little weird, but I actually will just go down and put a little checkbox down there, because then I can give myself a grade on how I did that day, right? So much of the times we're we have no idea how we did. So this is my time for review. So right here, I have my compelling vision to be able to change and save lives. So literally, my vision in being here right now is the reason why God put me on this planet is so that I can go out and save lives, right? My reasons are so that I can be a hero for my kids, right? So that I can leave an impact on this world, and so that I can affect humanity so that I can affect humanity. Those are my 3 reasons. It doesn't get any bigger than that. These are my rituals that I need to be able to do. Those things created my identity of what I do. These are the rituals that I do. I do them on a consistent basis, and I review them every single week. It's as simple as that. But it takes effort, right? You actually have to consciously think about your life. You have to plan your life, and you're like, oh, that's too hard. Well, that's the same thing that's, like most people will start and stop, and the reason why you start and stop, why it's too hard, is because you don't have a compelling enough vision. That why isn't big enough. Those reasons aren't big enough there. So when your reasons become big enough, this is easy. It only takes me a few seconds a day. Like, how long does it take me to take vitamin D? Like, done, right? 12 minutes for exercise. I mean, come on, really? Like how long does it take me to actually write out 3 things I'm going to do? 20 minutes for the Bible? Hello? Like, for an eternity. Come on. So the second thing is then I just plan out my week. This is what my week looks like. I just block everything out. This is what I do, and so like so I have a plan, right? I have a plan of what my week looks like. I mean, that's what every week looks like. These are what I'm doing. Like, I don't sit home. This is at lunch. I go home, read the newspaper, and then I have a Maximized moment at lunchtime there. So, but really, what kind of a moment? Maximized moment. Yes, I get to have lunch with my wife. So she sets me straight. She's the one that reminds me. She's like, okay, go take out the trash. So here's the thing, and really, this is if there's one thing that you guys can take from this, this is probably the most important thing that I can give you right now, and it's this: is that it's what we call a success cycle, and you have to look at this. Is that, and it applies to every single area of our life. Like, look at what your potential is. Is there any limitations to your potential? Right? Like, if it's faith-based thing, a mustard seed moving a mountain, right? Like, I mean, that's pretty good potential right there, right? Like, faith is you can move it, like all these things that you can, I did, you can do also. Like, I mean, like, we are incredible. So our potential is pretty much unlimited. The problem is this, is we have to look at what our beliefs are, right? When we look at what our beliefs are, if you believe that, like because your mom was big boned, or your dad was, I had a person a patient that no male in their family had lived beyond 52. They'd all died of heart attacks. Okay, so guess what? Was he thin and in shape? No, he wasn't. He'd already given up when he was 14 years old, right? When his dad died when he was 14 years old, he gave up. So look at his beliefs about his potential, and think about the actions that he took. He didn't take any action, right? I mean, he did take actions, but look at the results that he got. Oh, look at me. Yeah, I'm 20 years old. I have high blood pressure. I'm 20 years old. I have high cholesterol. I'm 20 years old. I'm already on 4 medications at 20 years old. And then he comes back and he goes, see, I told you, right? All right, think about last time that you tried to lose weight. This is a simple one, because like most people have tried to lose weight, right? I mean, and so what we do is we think about like last time I lost weight, I tried to lose weight, I failed. And so most people are like, I'm not gonna even try. But those that do, they're like, well, I'm gonna try. I don't think I can, but I'm gonna go try this 20-30 plan thing. I know it might have worked for some people, but my identity says I'm different. So my beliefs, all of a sudden they start doing something, and their beliefs all of a sudden change their actions. So like all of a sudden they do that. They buy the book, they open the first page of the book, and they don't get past that first page, right? And they don't even know what the 5 essentials are, much less the 5 essentials in order. And like when I ask them, I'm like, so how's your advanced plan going? And they're like, what's that? And I'm like, I thought you wanted to like make some changes there. So their actions change, and all of a sudden they're like, they don't get, they actually gain weight, because all of a sudden they go for a half a day without trying to eat, and then all of a sudden they try to power down the food there, right? So this is one of the most important things that you can learn, and look at it in every area of your life. You look at your relationships. What are the potential for your relationship? Well, if you're not bringing home flowers, right? Like if you're not writing those small little notes, if you're not telling your wife or your husband you love them, and like you don't have a good relationship, well then you're like, see, she doesn't love me, right? And then so there's no potential in this relationship, so we're going to take a different action, and it's going to separate us, right? So what we have to look at is our actions that we take and the beliefs about our potential that we have, which will determine our results. So think about this. When we look at the potential, I've literally worked with, well, now at 427,000 patient encounters, right? We've lost thousands of pounds here in the office. Thousands. Like, I know what it takes. I have absolute 100% certainty. It's not even a question. If you follow all 5 essentials, if you do everything that you're supposed to be doing, your potential is there. It's not going to change. You have an amazing potential. You do the actions, you're going to get amazing results there. That's what it comes down to. And so really we've got to look at our beliefs, because really the truths that we've been telling ourselves, they're not really truths. They're just most of the time they're just rationalizations, right? They're reasons why we can't. They're not, and you ask somebody like what the truth really is, they're many times going to tell you different than what you've been telling yourself, right? You get a husband and a wife many times in the room, and like I'll have a husband and wife come to the table, and I'm like, I ask the husband like, how you doing? He's like, oh, fine. And the wife's standing there at the head of the table. She's like, oh, no, he's not. You know what I mean? Like, we have this rationalization that's going on there. So, but the thing that you have to remember is that we're always going to act in accordance with who we see ourselves, our inner truth of what we believe is right there. So what we have to do, is Mike here?
No,
Okay.
it's not.
Okay. So what the biggest thing that we got to do is we got to change our beliefs, really. Because that's where it all starts. We got to change our beliefs, because when we change our beliefs to support us, what will happen is we're going to take different actions on that. We're going to get different results, and now we're going to have certainty. We're going to have absolute certainty that these changes are possible, and then we're going to keep. And what's going to happen? Have you ever been in a place in your life when you're like in the zone, right? Right? Like you're in the zone, like everything's working. You're like attracting people into your life. You know, people are coming in. The right things are happening at the right time, and all that does is that feeds into your certainty, which feeds into your actions, which feeds into your results. And you're like, see, I told you I'm awesome, I'm a stud. And you just keep on doing that type of thing. So, you know, PJ, I'm going to have you come up here for a second. So what I'm going to have you do for me, he's going to be my super duper assistant here. I'm going to have you take your hand like this, and I want you to rotate around as far as you think you can go. Okay? Okay, right about there, right to the, before the Y. Okay, I want you to close your eyes, put your hand down there. And what I want you to think about is I want you to think about that your body's nice and relaxed. And I want you to, in your mind, to be able to see your hand going back about 50% more, okay? I want you to see it in your mind, see what it would feel like and just envision that, like moving past that Y, going to the CRUST, okay? I want you to just let your body, feeling your body relax into it. Now I want you to keep your eyes closed, bring your arm up there for me. I'm going to bring it right out here, and I'm going to have you rotate back as far as you think you can go. There we go. So, and here's the thing, like I could like with PJ, like that wasn't easy, but you went back from the Y, you got about another 15% on there, right? So what if we got 15? Thank you. What if we got 15% more in our lives? What if we got just that little bit extra, just by 10 seconds of talking about beliefs, right? Like try this one at home. Like try it with your spouse. Like just see where they are. Typically we get between 25 and 50% improvement when somebody does that. And when they think about there was a study in which they looked at basketball players. And what they did is they took 3 groups of basketball players. They had one group for half an hour a day. They had them practice their shots, their free throws. They had another group that didn't do anything, and then they had a third group that for half an hour a day, they had them envision the perfect shot. They had to visualize that perfect shot. Well, I don't need to tell you what the results are going to be, right? Because the people that practiced the shots, they got better. People that didn't practice the shots didn't do anything, but the people that visualized their shots, they completely crushed the people that practiced their shots. And the reason being is that when they were in their mind, for half an hour a day, they were standing there, seeing the ball go through the net, hearing the swish. So all of a sudden, they were taking the action, they were getting the result, and they were developing a certainty all day long. And that's the power of visualization. That's the power of how you see what you do. And that's why, taking that quiet time in the morning to be able to plan your day, to be able to see what it's like to be able to walk into the office, to see what it's like when the kids are going to wake up. Like if all of a sudden you wake up and you're like, oh, see, I told you I got crazy kids, or you visualize them, right? And you see they come out and they want to give you a hug and so on and so forth. All of a sudden you're going to start acting accordingly with that vision there. So whether you think you're right, or whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. I mean, that's basically what it comes down to. And I'm not trying to talk about it. My goal is not to be a motivational person here, right? Like, because motivation, like, you know, it doesn't last, right? Like, you get all fired up and pumped up, and then all of a sudden, like, it disappears. Like, what we want to be able to do is, my job is to inspire you to be able to make change. Because you're going to make change and to be able to create progress in your life. That's my only job. You know, I wanted to make sure I gave you one more quote because I don't think I answered all the questions for you. But where was it? There we go. So the one thing I want you to remember is that, like, we're talking about discipline, and you know, discipline weighs ounces, right? It doesn't take a lot of time, but it's regrets that weigh tons, right? It's those regrets that are the things that crush us and slow us down and make us feel heavy as we move on in the world. And the thing is that a lot of times, sometimes people be sitting there with their arms crossed and they're like, yeah, whatever, you know, I've heard this before. It doesn't take guts to be skeptical. It takes zero guts to be skeptical. All when somebody's skeptical about something, it means that they're in fear, right? They're in fear of failing. They're in fear of believing. So when somebody says, I can't do, you know, I'm not going to do this, oh, this is just a bunch of stuff. It just means that they're in a place of fear, that they don't think that they deserve it, that what is possible doesn't match up with their identity. And so if you're skeptical about these changes being possible in your lives, check yourself, okay? Check yourself. Because when you take those consistent actions, that's where we make those consistent changes there. And so really what I want you to do is to really think about, like, your limiting beliefs that you have. Like, you know, I am to this. I'm not enough of this. Because of blank, I won't be successful. Like, these are if you were to fill in the blanks for just those three questions, I'm to this, I'm not enough of this, or I can't be successful because of this, like, if you were to look at those things, and you're going to find that those are the things that were crushing your vision, that new compelling vision of who you could be and who you are. Those are the things that are destroying your identity. And most of those things, most of these beliefs, they're not even yours. They're somebody else's. Somebody else gave them to you, and they said, hey, why don't you wear this for the rest of your life? See how it fits. And many times it's like a girdle because it just squeezes you. You can't breathe. So if those beliefs make you uncomfortable, they make you feel a little unsettled, that's the things that we want to change. And we don't want to run away from them, we just want to run into them, right? We want to run into them because, you know, once we get beyond it, then we can move forward there. We can have that progress, and that's where we can start to find our happiness. I'm going to ask you, and this is one of my favorite quotes, but basically it talks about this, is that, you know, right now we're talking about being the architect of our life, right? There are some great architects out there, but it's the bricklayers that make things, right? It's the people that put things into action. It's the people that take that step, that actually put that effort into putting that brick there. They put the heavy weight on their shoulders and they lay it. It's the bricklayers that create something. And so I want you to be a bricklayer. Maybe go get a brick and put it on your desk, right? Put a brick on your desk to remember what you are. You're not an architect. It's time for talk is done. Time for talk is done. It's time to put that brick on the desk, remember who we are, and create the lives that we were destined to have there. And so, really, this is what I want you to do. This is your action steps. I gave you your first assignment was to go in there, look at your vision, look at the thing that's weakest in your life, the thing that you want to change, and look at the rituals that you have supporting that, and then come up with a couple new visions for your life that you want to change, and create some supporting rituals there. But this is what I want you to do. This is how we lay the brick, okay? What we do is we write down our results as already achieved, right? So there's something in your brain. There's something in your brain called the reticular activating system. They call it the RAS. And it's the thing that, do you remember, like, have you ever bought a car, and all of a sudden you're on the street, and, like, everybody has that same car, and you've never seen it before, right? Or, like you got that new outfit, and, like, all of a sudden, like, everybody, like, is wearing that outfit, or, like, you have a special song with a girlfriend or boyfriend, and then all of a sudden you hear it everywhere you go. The reticular activating system is the thing that allows our brain to focus on what we want. It's the thing that allows us to focus on what we want. So the more that we activate it, the more that our brain knows what to look for, the more that it'll actually do it. And so when we write down our results, our goals as already been accomplished, what our brain sees is that this is how it is. And it starts paying attention not to the things. If you ever had somebody that they just, like, they see you and they just keep on, like, they start picking you apart, right? They look for all the bad stuff in you, and guess what they find? More bad stuff, right? And then you have somebody else that you meet them and they're like, how you doing? Oh, great. Hey, you know what? I want to tell you how wonderful you are and how amazing you are. Like, they don't even see the bad stuff in you, right? They don't see what's on the cutting room floor. All they see is what's on the trailer, right? They see the amazing stuff on you. And so the reticular activating system allows us to focus on what we want. And that's why if you were to take just a few seconds in the morning, write down your goals as already achieved, like write down your compelling vision. So your goal or your compelling vision is the same. Like, I have this compelling vision and it's this, and I've done it. Like, not like I want to do this, but I am doing this. My compelling vision is I'm going to be, I'm going to lose weight, I'm going to do this, so that I can have these reasons to be able to do that. If you're very clear, because clarity is the key. If it's not clear, if it's amorphous, if it's just kind of like, kind of want to move in this direction, you're not getting anywhere, right? So the second thing is that we got to write down the beliefs that are about it. Like, why? What are the reasons that you need to do that, right? What are the reasons that you need to do that? And the second thing is write out your rituals. Like, what is the action step that you're going to do that day? What bricks are you going to lay today in your life to be able to construct the life that you want for who you want to be and what you want to contribute to the world there? The last thing is this. Take a look around you right now. I mean, seriously, look at the people that are around you. Like, every single person that's here, like, is moving in a direction, right? There's a lot of places you could have been, a lot of things that you could have been doing right now. But here's the thing: is that you got to know the right things, but you also got to surround yourself with the right people. That's the two keys to success. That's it, right? Like, if you know the right things, most people know the right things. But then they want to, like, let's say you go to a makeover, right? And you learn all this great information, and you're like, I'm going to go home and change my world. I got my vision, I got my reasons, I got my rituals, I got everything that I need. And then you go home, and your husband's sitting there like, yeah, you're never doing that. You've always been fat. In fact, why don't you just go get a bigger dress, right? You know what I mean? Like, think about it. Like, I mean, you think it doesn't happen. But I see the tears. Like, it's that person that your best friend that tells you, oh, look, you can never do that. You can never do that. Like, you've never done it. I've known you for 40 years. You can never do that. So what you want to do is you want to surround yourself with people that are actually doing it. And so one of the things that I'm going to encourage you with the makeover that's coming up here, okay? This is, if you've been to a makeover before, this is a totally different one. Like, we have completely reformatted the whole makeover because it's a new makeover. Like, because it's about progress, right? Like, every single day, I want to, like, have new information going for you. And so one of the things that's going to make this powerful and make this change for you is to have a partner, right? Like, it's going to be having somebody that you can surround yourself with on a consistent basis to be able to support you in those changes. And so one of the things, like, it's not an accountability partner to make you do things. It's somebody that you can share this experience with that has the same standards that you have, that has the same rituals that you have. Because when that happens, when two or more are present, well, great things can happen there. And so what I want you to do is, like, I know we have the makeover coming up February 8th, so it's like 2 or 3 weeks from now. Like, bring your friend. Like, bring your friend that you're going to have an accountability with. Bring your friend that's going to support you. Bring your friend that not only is going to learn the things that you learn, but is also going to be the right person to surround yourself with to ensure your success. And that's really what I'm asking you to do. Because look, it's about, that's what this makeover is about. It's about transforming us. It's about getting us up to that next level. And my goal is to be able to create a compelling enough vision for you, for your life during this makeover, that it'll be able to transform your lives. And so really, today, it's like what we need right now is it's really simple, right? Like, just change your state. Change your state by changing the ways that you move. Change the way that you move by changing your physiology. Because here's the thing, if you go to the makeover, you change the way that you eat and you move and you think and you detox, all of a sudden your physiology's changed. Now you're focusing on different things. now all of a sudden, our lives are transforming. We're progressing. We're happy. We're having everything that we need to have and that we were created to be. And that's what I want for you. Because when I look at, like I talked about at Times Square, that was probably one of the greatest moments of my life and probably one of the worst moments after thinking about that. But what I want to do is, it starts with one person, and it starts with us. And we need to take care of ourselves, but we also need to take care of each other because if we don't, who will? Right? If we don't take care of ourselves, who's going to take care of us there? And we are rare. I think it's like one with 27 zeros behind it, the probability that you were actually born. So the day that you were born, the dress rehearsal's over, right? You filled the part. There is nobody else like you on this planet. There is nobody else that's had the same experiences. The part that you play in this world is critical. It's absolutely critical for this world to be able to function in a better way there. And so unless you're at 100%, unless you're your very best you, this world is a little bit weaker for you. And so I think that is the main thing that I just wanted to get across to you, is just to remember tonight, like that the power to be great is inside of you, the power to make changes inside of you, and all you got to do is lay the brick. Thank you. All right. What is that?
Product sales.
Oh yeah. Sorry, I got so excited. So as our gift to you, just to be able to let you make changes there, sorry, Vanessa made a coupon for you for anybody tonight.
It's for tonight only.
Yeah, it's for tonight only, for 15% off any of the products there, to be able to help support you. So just to be able to save you money, but also to give you a reason to take action. How do you like that? And then also make sure that you sign up or get your makeover tickets tonight, because this is going to be awesome. It's going to be at the Santa Clara Convention Center. So just get your name on the list. That way we can reserve a ticket for you. And just get you think about who you're going to be able to share this experience with, and get it down there so that you can make this a major must. Let's turn this into like a should go to the makeover to a must go to the makeover, because that's where we make changes. All right, guys. Have a great night, and just be awesome.